Cape Cod Broadcasting weaves the listening environments of 99.9 WQRC, Ocean 104.7, WFCC Classical 107.5, Cape Country 104, and CapeCon.com's website experience to reflect the lifestyles of the people who live, work, and play on Cape Cod. We hope that you enjoy this podcast.
I'm Laura Reckford, and this is Sunday Journal. I'm talking on the phone with Dan Shores, who is a candidate running in the Republican primary for Congress in the 9th District, which includes the Cape and Islands. He is looking to unseat the incumbent, Bill Keating. We're focused on politics with the upcoming primary election on September 9th. Among the races that will have a contested primary is the 9th Congressional seat. 4 Republicans are running to unseat Congressman Keating. Dan Shores is one of them. The primary will determine which of them will appear in the general election ballot in November. Dan, welcome to the show.
Laura, thanks so much for having me.
Let's start with your background. Tell us about yourself, how long you've been on Cape Cod, what brought you here, and what you do for a living.
Sure. I actually grew up off Cape. I grew up in Carver. My dad was a logger when I was growing up. That's the first job I had. I left Carver, got an undergraduate degree in mechanical engineering, and went on to study law. I studied law at Georgetown University Law Center, earned a degree and practiced in Washington, D.C. for a number of years as a patent litigation lawyer, and then returned to the Commonwealth, and I currently live in Sandwich. I live on Cape in Sandwich and have my own solo law practice here in Sandwich.
You're running in the Republican primary. Tell us about your political philosophy and why you decided to run for the seat.
Well, I'll tell you why I decided to run first. I just deeply believe in this country. I have a deep love of this country. I believe that we're not going in the right direction. I think we have a leadership crisis. And my political philosophy is I'm a Reagan Republican. I believe in getting the government out of the way of the people. I think the people are the ones that generate the prosperity in this country, not the government. And I think our leaders currently believe that people should be coming to the government for their prosperity, but it's the other way around. That's what makes us unique as a country. And the beauty of it is that once the prosperity is unleashed from the people, it's unlimited because there's no limit to the human spirit.
And tell us about your experience in politics. Have you ever held any other office?
I have never held official public office. I was the only thing close is I was president of my high school class for 3 straight years. But I'm actually proud of that. I'm proud of the fact that I'm not a politician. I'm not a career politician. I have a successful background in the private sector, and I bring that to the table. One of my things I believe in is congressional term limits. I think that's an important part of. I think that's something that we need to implement, and it's going to be healthy. Once we implement term limits, it's going to be very healthy for this country. And I think that when you have career politicians, it takes the lawmaking goes more towards what the special interests and lobbyists want rather than what the people want. So this is an opportunity for folks in the 9th Congressional District to vote for somebody that's going to represent them.
And what do you feel are the biggest issues on the Cape and Islands that you could influence if you were congressman?
Yeah, I think primarily it's small business. Certainly small business is the fabric of this community in the Cape and Islands, but also the entire 9th Congressional District, which reaches up most of this, or a good portion of the South Shore and connected towns inland as well as the South Coast. Small businesses are the fabric of this community, and small businesses are the driver of this economy. And small businesses traditionally is the driver of the economy nationwide. And there are so many regulations and that small businesses have to comply with, and they also have to comply with a very complicated tax code. So I believe in simplifying the tax code, peeling back regulations, particularly for small business, and I believe that's going to be a key component of economic health and recovery in our communities.
And on the Cape, we talk about wastewater issues, we talk about affordable housing, and some other issues somewhat specific to the Cape.
Yeah.
Have you studied some of those issues?
Yeah, I mean, that on a federal level, doesn't really come into play, at a federal level, but I certainly understand all those issues. There are also tax issues. I know in Sandwich, the property tax is a big issue because the taxes go up and people's incomes stay the same. And so that's a big problem. And of course, there's the wastewater problem with the Cape Cod Commission and things. I know that's a very important issue. I am, so on a federal level, that doesn't really come into play, but on there are a lot of other there are some quasi-local issues that I've become very passionate about, and that includes Cape Wind. I'm against Cape Wind. I'm firmly against Cape Wind, and I think at the federal level I can help in that area.
I'm Laura Reckford, and this is Sunday Journal. We're focused on politics with the upcoming primary election on September 9th. I'm talking with Dan Shores, who is running in the Republican primary for Congress in the 9th District, which includes the Cape and Islands. I see in your campaign literature you talk about some federal issues, the Affordable Care Act, national security, the country's debt. Tell us about your views on those issues.
Yes, I'm from day one I was opposed to the Affordable Care Act, Obamacare. I reject the premise of the federal government controlling anything very significant, particularly 1/6 of our economy and our health care. I think it defies common sense. You just ask anybody, do you think the federal government can run anything efficiently and properly? And the person on the street is going to tell you no. So I think it was flawed from the very beginning. Now, I understand that there's an issue with, providing care to those that need it. But another fundamental issue that was not addressed by the Affordable Care Act was the rising costs of care. And that is really what that's the big economic problem we see on our horizon. And Obamacare did nothing to address that. So I think we need to use free market principles and lowering insurance premiums, for example, and that can be done by allowing insurance companies to sell their policies across state lines, similar to auto insurance. Allow the free market to take hold there. And then with respect to the rising cost of care, one of the one of the things I strongly support is tort reform, and will deter. Well, right now, doctors and medical professionals are afraid that they're going to be sued, and so they do extra tests and have to spend more resources and money on doing things out of fear rather than doing the right thing. And I think that's going to help drive down the costs of care, and that's really what we need to see. That's what the fundamental underlying problem is, and so that's my position on that.
And now Republicans who vote in the primary will have a choice between 4 candidates. What distinguishes you from the other Republican candidates in this race?
Well, I am somebody that, there's somebody that's an attorney. There's a person that started his own business. There's a person that has a background in science. I'm the only candidate with a strong background in law, started my own business, and a strong background in science. So I take all 3 of those. But I also respect my running mates, not my running mates, but the folks that are running in the primary. And let the best man win. I think that I have a very strong background. I have a lot to offer to the folks in the 9th Congressional District, and I encourage folks to visit my website, danshores2014.com, to learn more about me and my campaign.
With just a minute or so left, what would you like voters to know most about you when they think of Dan Shores?
When you think of Dan Shores, just think of somebody that is very grounded. I'm not affiliated with, I believe in a unified Republican Party, and I'm a very hard worker. I'm very passionate. I know what working families go through every day. And if I'm your representative, I honestly believe you could not have a better advocate than me in the United States Congress. I'm grounded. I've got all the skills. I do what I think is right. I listen to my constituents. And again, I'm an extremely hard worker, and I will just do everything that I possibly can to be the best representative that you've ever had.
That's a great sum up. Unfortunately, we're out of time. Dan, thank you so much for talking with us today.
Thank you so much, Laura. I really appreciate it.
I'm Laura Reckford, and this is Sunday Journal.
This podcast is a presentation of Cape Cod Broadcasting, which is solely responsible for its content. Thank you for listening. For more information, please visit us at capecodbroadcasting.com.